Good evening and welcome to Hot Topics from the Soul. I'm your host, Dr. Valerie Parker Hagan. And as you can see, I'm still visually challenged. Oh my goodness, I can't wait till I'm able to see without the glare affecting my eyes. But to God be the glory. I'm glad to be able to have some vision, and I'm glad to be able to be before you because we have an exciting show. Are you free? I have my co host with me,
Well, good
Dr.
evening.
J, where are you?
I'm here. I'm hiding underneath here. No. well, well. First of all, let me
You
say
need to
that,
rise to the occasion.
and that is for sure. It's not that my seat has gone down. Hopefully, that's a little better. We look like we're
Yes, a lot better.
but even part of there. But it is good to be here. And unfortunately, you're still recovering from your eyes. We're grateful for that. And I'm dealing with the cuts and niches here. So hang on just a few more weeks. We may look like we're the Motley Crew inside of things, but we're going to be back 100% better than ever when it's all
I
said
know,
and done.
right? Last week you had a procedure,
Yes.
and it's just like, I don't know. It's like you tilt 60 and everything goes haywire.
Yeah, or you make up in your mind that listen, anything that's broken, we're gonna make sure we get fixed, right?
We're gonna get a
I think that's going to be my cry. We want to make sure that it get fixed because the fact, we're learning so many new things in this day and time, right? It's like we know that self care is health care, so we're understanding how to take care of ourselves better, but we're also learning to understand what does freedom look like. How do we recognize freedom? And not only how do we recognize it, how do we ensure that we still remain free in the midst of things that are happening to us? And that whole connotation of free is amazing because the word free is not synonymous with cheap. Never to ever be confused. Salvation was free. It definitely wasn't cheap. It cost Jesus his life. So we have
Yes,
to understand there's a value to our freedom. And sometimes that value is things that we don't arrive at or recognize until it is threatened or until it's no longer there. And so we are living in a crucial time now that it is so important that people learn not only to keep their mind, but how to hold on to their freedom and to understand what freedom really is.
absolutely, Dr. J. Uh, the president is celebrating his 100 days in office, and he's supposed to speak tonight, so people may be tuned in to see what he has to say. But we've seen what he's doing, and we've
Yeah.
seen the chaos, and we've seen the disruption. And I began to ponder about what we should talk about tonight, and I think that is very crucial. Like the week before last, we talked about the power of the cross and what that means to us. And I kind of wanted to stay in the same vein because there's a lot of mental upset going on in the minds of the people. There's such an unrest and uneasiness. And,
Yes.
are we free? But the first thing I want us to be able to do is be unapologetically comfortable in our own skin
Right.
with who we are and what it is we bring to the table. And until we're able to be comfortable with who we are as an individual as opposed to the expectations of other people, we won't be free, because
Exactly.
it has to be a foundation. It has to start somewhere. It has to be able to have a foundation and you build on that. So you're building on the fact that I'm comfortable with who I am. I'm secure in my mind, first of all, that I'm able to stay focused to see, not what's behind me, but what's before me, and
Right.
be able to withstand the onslaught that is about to take place. Thousands of people have lost jobs that were supposed to be the jobs that would never go away, like government jobs and things. When you had a government job, you knew everything was great, everything was secure. You didn't have to worry about nothing because you were set. You could retire in that government job. And then, businesses, you spent all your monies and your access pouring into businesses and building that. And now, because of the economy, everything is like standing still for a lot of corporate. I know my business especially, it has come to a halt. It's like nothing is moving because people are afraid to invest. They're afraid to, reach outside. Companies aren't booking speakers and stuff and getting trainings anymore because there's nobody there.
Yes, and it's a sad thing, and it really shows you the interconnectivity that we all have with one another. We are really interdependent upon one another, and the thing is, I've been doing a lot of thinking about this. Is that one of the ways that we have to deal with this is to, first of all, let's stay free in our own mind. Let's stay free in our own mind that we're not overtaken by anxiety or overtaken by fear and those things. I'm not saying that what's happening to us is not things to be concerned about, but I think that we have to go back and reframe how we're looking at things. First of all, I'm going to take the political label off of things. I'm not looking at Democrat. I'm not looking at Republican or Independent. I am looking at what is humane, what is humane, what is right, what is wrong. And if you and I and anyone, if we can truly look at what's happening right now in our country and say that what is happening is humane, that it's dignified, that it considers the least, the lost, and the left out, that it hears the cry of the oppressed, that it hears the cry of the marginalized. If you can say that with a straight face, and you can truly say that, then it gives you a clear indication where you are on your spiritual and your moral barometer. It simply does. Someone said, I saw something come across social media today, and I know the person meant well. And what it was a video of people at the White House praise and worship, supposedly. And they sung the song, and I love, and the angels cry, holy. And you're watching that, and folks had certain comments. And I know it looks good for optics to say, wow, look, in the White House, they're singing those type songs. And I applaud that. But might I not say that watching folks sing songs of worship have never guaranteed anybody freedom? Do they not understand that even in the days of slavery and lynching, that folk would be lynched after just leaving the church, talking about, shall we gather by the river? They just got to doing a whole sermon and come and lynch you. So when your policy and your theology don't line up inside of how we deal with people, I don't care what we sing. The song is not lining up. And what I'm saying is this: I don't know how you can overlook people who are going through, major challenges and just start gutting things. I look at veterans, and God knows I salute every veteran that ever put their life on the line for this country. And I'm coming across some of these veterans that my heart breaks for them. They put their life on the line, and many of them have lost benefits, and some of them have lost now jobs. Others are losing other things that they actually fought for. And I'm asking the question: what are we giving in exchange for that? What is it that is worth that? That we rather give you a harder life in order to do what?
But Dr. J, we've been in this place many times before as an American people. Maybe not, people of color, let's say, have been in this place before, a hard place, and we rose to the occasion because we had the gospel within our hearts, and we believe that God to be who he is and Christ to be who he is, because he died and he rose again and he's coming back. Those are visions that keep us focused as a people and looking for his appearing. But the word says in Colossians to set our affections on things above, not about things on this earth, because things are going to perish. There's been hurricanes, there's been fire. Now, mind you, the Bible says the world won't be destroyed by water, but by fire next time. Look at all the burnings that are going on, and then the crashes that are going on. So much is happening. And I'm not talking to try and make people afraid, but I want you to be aware of the times that we're living in. and take nothing for granted. But we shall rise again. We shall rise again. But remember, I said we have to be unapologetically comfortable in our own skin. That means comfortable in the space we're in mentally, and go by what we see and know that this light affliction is but for a moment.
You said something so powerful. This is not God's first rodeo, and this is not our first rodeo. We understand that throughout time, history will produce moments that are meant to be met. It is how we meet those moments that will determine the aftermath. What I believe that we're brought back to a place that is very similar to what the Psalms 46 is taken in consideration. And to understand that particular psalm, we have to understand the fact of the things that was going on during that time. We have to understand the fact of the uproar that was going on. Even then, political systems, if you would, that was all disarray. People was marginalized, and a lot of things that was happening. Lives felt threatened. And yet it's still, there was one verse in verse 10 that says it all. Says, be still and know that I am God.
That I am God.
And I think that because we have enjoyed so much that we almost thought that we did it ourselves. We've enjoyed so much that when things doesn't move in our own timing, we become impatient.
Right.
And so we got to fix it. We're going to fix this. We're going to make it happen. And there are certain things that I believe that God will cause to happen. And that when we look at God's hand intervene inside of it, there will be no mistake about how we came out and how we came.
I'm glad you said that, Dr. J, because God allows things to happen sometimes to push us where we need to be and where we need to go. And we get so caught up and so haughty in our own flesh, thinking we've obtained wealth by ourselves, when the Bible clearly tells us that he empowers us to get wealth. But we get so caught up and haughty in our own flesh. There's a difference about being comfortable in your skin and being exalted in your skin, where you feel that you are the ultimate, being, and that nothing can touch you because you have all the wealth. When we lose the connection of people and realize that our lives are never about us, but what God wants to do through us, that our lives are supposed to impact and touch other individuals. This is what our life is about. And sometimes God will allow situations and circumstances to put us in this place to cause us to pray. I keep saying it. When the presidency was won, I said, this is going to be the greatest revival we have ever seen. Yes. Why? Because it's going to cause the church, not the physical church,
right,
but it's going to cause us as a people to fall down on our knees and pray.
Absolutely.
To a power that's higher than our own.
Absolutely. And I believe this, and one of the things I feel like it's been very evident to me was I've had to step away from the political landscape in and of itself. It doesn't mean that I don't recognize policies. I don't recognize things that are there. But what it does mean is this, is that I can't look at it through a political eye. I got to look at it through the eyes of God. At the end of the day, I have to ask myself, there's a psalm that says, what shall I render unto God for all his blessings? And we have to ask ourselves a question, even individually and collectively as a people, what have we rendered? With that which he blessed us with, what did we do with it? Did we honor him with it? And then how do I honor him? Do I honor him because I reach back and help my brother and my sister? Do I honor him because I helped make ways for others? Did I honor him because of the fact that I was part of what he used to help set the captives free, to restore a sight to the blind? What is it that I've done for those who are oppressed? Because I'm going to say this. Withstanding all things, I know this, that the Bible tells us that God is on the side of those that are oppressed, not the oppressor. And if you're on the camp of those that are oppressing, believe me, there is a judgment day that is coming for you, and it's coming sooner than what you think. but there are those that will stand, that will stand. And when you oppose those individuals, and this is what leads us back to real prayer and real trust, real prayer and real trust, not calculated. No, I'm going to trust you. The scripture says, blessed is the man or woman that maketh the Lord their trust. Trust is not something that just happens when all the situations are right. Trust is what happens when we have nothing else to rely on but what his word says. And I think we've got to get back to that part. I said to God, what is the proper response? He said, the proper response is always honor. Do you honor me in your substance? Do you honor me with just with the things I've given you? How do I honor him? I honor him because, in fact, I try to be his expression in that which I do with others. Understanding that sometimes people might not need money, but they definitely can use a kind word. Sometimes people might not be the greatest need in their life right now, money. They need a peace of mind. They need a sense of acceptance. They need a sense of identity. And when we understand that, when I honor children, that's why I honor victims and people who have been victimized. It's one of the reasons that I do the work that I do is because of the fact I understand that they're God's creation. I understand that. When I see families destroyed by violence and things, I understand that is nothing but the enemy coming to try to destroy the very foundation of our society. And so why do I step in? Has nothing to do with police and all that. It's because it's to bring an honor back to what God wants. And our families and our communities are being destroyed. But
absolutely, Dr. J. We have to get back to that mental wellness.
Right.
Where we're mentally sound ourselves. If you're feeling unstable and you feel like you don't know how to hold it together, that so much is coming up against you, there's mental health hotline for you to connect with someone, to talk with someone. And I know a lot of times people like, I don't want to talk to nobody. I'm not crazy. But no, it's not about being crazy. It's about being mentally sound. You and I deal with domestic violence, Dr. J, and I can tell you every day, 2, 3, 4 cases of domestic violence on the television because they're not mentally sound. They're so distracted and so caught up in their emotions about not being able to control another person that they want to take dominance, and they lose stability mentally about who they are and what it is that they're designed to do. And let me say something to you. When your mental health is locked up in another individual, you need help.
Absolutely.
You cannot rely on someone else to give you an identity. And when that person no longer wants to be connected with you, you cannot take that life by force because it does not serve you. This is not what we do. This mental health hotline, 1-800-273-TALK.
Yes.
TALK. Talk it out. Call a family member, call a friend, somebody said, don't take that next level where you take control and dominance over another individual, and then you be so coupled with grief till then you want to take your own life. There is no repentance in the grave.
I remember you shared with me recently about one of the messages that you heard down at your church that was so powerful, and I believe it was talking about the contrast between Judas and Peter. The contrast between Judas and Peter. Judas in his betrayal of the Lord. In his betrayal of the Lord, sold him out for 30 pieces of silver. And when the guilt came across him of what he'd done, rather than to look at the fact of everything that the Lord had been to him, forgiving, patience, and all that, selfishly took his own life. Peter, on the other hand, though denying him 3 times, looked into the very character of who he knew that he was, and knew that in him he could find forgiveness. In him he could find restoration. And so often people, they make permanent decisions about temporary matters.
Temporary situations.
Yes. And they make permanent decisions. And so we have to understand there's so much work to be done. The peace of mind is so important. At the end of the day, listen, we see people who have all the money that they can handle, but they can't handle life and they don't have peace of mind. To be able to have peace of mind, and I believe this, I believe that when we quote the scripture, beloved, that I wish above all things that you prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. I want people to understand that that's not just the fact of physical health. That's also mental health. How do I know that? Even as thy soul prospers, the soul, the reflective consciousness, the mind, we have to be able to prosper. That means the fact, that is why we need to be able to have that relationship back established again. Because the enemy will always remind you of your last failure, will remind you of your last failure. And he wants you to think that failure is permanent. He wants you to think that you cannot make it. And the thing about it, once you understand the fact that it's not permanent, and that this is not my only option here, but I do have the option to look to him who, listen, think about it. Who took care of us before we could ever take care of ourselves? I look at little children. You ever notice, know why little children are free? Speaking of that word free, you know why they move free? They have no worries.
They have no baggage.
They don't worry. They're like the birds of the air. They toil nor do they spin. But they know that the God is going to provide for them. We no longer walk in that type of confidence. We don't walk in that type of hope. To know that, listen, it doesn't matter what it looked like. God will vindicate that which he needs to vindicate. Our trust must be in him, not in systems. Some trust in chariots, some trust in horsemen, but we must trust in the name of our God. We're not to even trust in men. It's the reason why the Bible said the heart of the king is even in the hands of the Lord, and he can turn it which way he desires to do so. And in this day and time, we're not going to win this by having a whole bunch of verbal jabbing and cute phrases thrown at each other. We're going to have to truly trust God and move in God's timing and God's space. Because I promise you, what it might be meant for evil, God will make it for our good every time.
Absolutely, Dr. J. Absolutely. And how I know that to be true is there's always going to be a remnant.
Yes.
People are always going to make money.
Yes.
There's always going to be fresh ideas. So you have to be open to the possibilities and be willing to receive and move in purpose that he is sign to your life for you to toddle through, because of the fact that at the end of the day, it is he that gives us the power to get wealth, right?
Absolutely.
And our wealth is based on our ability to think, right?
Yes.
So when we have our minds clear and not caught up and stressed out on what we don't have, but focus on what we do have, then that's when God is able to move. I was looking at American Idol last night, and I was so blessed that so many of the artists that were on there last night, it was like a revival. The greatest stage on the world, it was like a revival last night, and God got the glory. Because everybody gave him praise, regardless of what it looked like. They say everybody's going through chaos in the world. I don't care how much money you got, you're going through something.
Absolutely.
You are going through something. Even if you're filthy rich, you are going through something. And lives are being lost, but love is being born and birthed in so many individuals. Relationships are coming forth. People are still getting married. Babies are still being born. Businesses are still being erected. Lives are still being changed. We're still thriving as a people.
Yes.
So celebrate what you have and who you are and live freely with that, knowing that it's going to be okay.
And when you can walk in that confidence, then you can experience what it means that whom the Son makes free is free indeed. Because I'm dependent on the one who's omniscient, knoweth all, has all wisdom and knowledge. He is infinite. We are finite. And the thing about it, he was able to put this whole world together without our help. He was able to frame the stars and put the sun in the sky without our help. And guess what? I think he's more than capable, and I think that he's more than able. And I think that once again, when we take our eyes off of him and put our eyes on man, understand, man, I don't care what party they're part of, they are frail. They are men that are flawed. They are men that are going to make decisions oftentimes that is very selfish amongst themselves. But I promise you that as we trust and we believe and truly trust and believe, and the trust and believe is not in a way to try to convince somebody that how to get over, but trying to get you to understand how we're going to get through. We're going to get through because we put our trust in him. We understand, God, you've been our help in ages past, and you're yet our hope for years to come. So I rest in the fact of knowing I don't always know how, I might not always know when, but what I do know, that he will always make a way because my trust is in him.
Absolutely. And Dr. J, some may be listening and say, that sounds all well and good, but I want to encourage you to find an accountability partner.
Exactly.
Find somebody to connect with on this earth while you're looking above, waiting for God to move and do exceedingly and abundantly above all we can ask or think. If I'm feeling some kind of way, I can call you, Dr. J. I could call my girl, Denora and Diva, and I'd be like, hey, this is what's going on. And find an accountability partner, someone to hold your hands up and just to hear them say it's going to be all right, kind of ignites a faith in you to say, you know what, it is going to be all right. I've been at this door before and it was all right then, and it's going to be all right now. I mean, it was about 10 years, 15 years ago, we were in a recession. People were losing their homes. I mean, by a rampant rate, the banks told people, don't make your house payments.
Exactly.
You got to be behind a certain amount of time for you to be remodified. And millions of people did that and lost their homes.
Yes.
But I found an accountability partner. I had my sister girls. We had our sisterhood, and we was like, we staying in our house. We not losing nothing. And I'm still in my house. They still in their house. They sold their houses. But because we had that camaraderie where we stood by faith and held each other head, we got to get back to those days where if somebody don't have bread, you bake that bread and you ship it or send them a piece of bread so they can eat, so that we can stay strong. And if you got something that you're going through, talking about it doesn't mean you're weak.
No.
Ask for help so that you can stay strong.
There's safety, there's wisdom, there's strength, and a multitude of counsel. And that's the thing about it. When you said, Lord, help me be around like-minded individuals who can see beyond just what there's tangible in front of them, individuals that can see beyond the most immediate thing, individual who doesn't lose vision even when it looks like they lost sight. And that's the thing about it. When we still have vision, because it's Helen Keller that says, she said the greatest tragedy is not having sight, but the greatest tragedy was having eyes but cannot see.
And can't see.
No vision. And so, what I'm saying, get a new vision of yourself. Get a new vision of what your future look like. Don't allow what currently is happening in this country or around this world to become your predictor of where you're going to be. You're made better than that. You was created with purpose, for purpose, and on purpose. And I promise you, you will overcome. You will rise. And I'm telling you, you'll be able to look back on these moments and declare that it was not by might, it was not by power, but it's by his spirit.
Absolutely, Dr. J. Wow, the time went real quick. And I'm so excited. And I pray that those of you who tuned in, if you enjoyed the show, share the show, like the show, pass it along, subscribe to the channel, and we will continue to give you motivational messages to encourage you so that you can embrace a larger vision of yourselves. Where you are right now is not where you're going to stay. It's not where you're going to be. A new day is coming, and we want you to be a part of it. Don't forget to subscribe to Hot Topics from the Soul. Good night. Reaching all minds, turning knowledge into gold. Yeah, Hot Topics from the Soul. Yeah.
Hot topics from the soul. Yeah, hot topics from the soul. Reaching all minds, turning knowledge into gold.